I'm going to show you how to set up row level security within Zing data. There's two ways you can use user attributes to determine what users see. The first is simply to add a filter that uses user attributes when you're creating a question. The limitation of that, however, is if a user has editor role, or if they make a copy of your question, or if they're asking a new question from scratch, that filter is not necessarily getting applied, and they could see, all the data. So what you more likely want to do is use centralized row level security. And that allows you to specify conditions that apply regardless of if a user is asking a question from scratch, regardless of if they're cloning a question, and they won't be able to delete or remove that condition because it's applied before any query occurs. Let's look at how to set this up. So we're going to go to the Zing data console and we're going to add a data source. Before we add the data source though, we're going to want to make sure that that data source has a lookup table. And the lookup table is just a table in your database where you have one field that is the user's identifier, typically their email address, for when they're logged into Zing, as well as any other attributes you're going to want to use to test against if they should be seeing a given row. So for instance, I may be in the state of California and have a role of manager. That might allow me to see all my customers who are in the state of California, whereas maybe an IC without that manager role shouldn't be able to, and I shouldn't be able to see customer information of folks maybe in other states. So let's look at how we would set this up. We've got this data source, but right now row level security is turned off. So if I go ask a question, let's say I go click on sources here and I click on customers, and I want to get maybe the number of customers by state. So I can go get a count of customers, ID, by state. Great. You'll notice I'm seeing data from all of these states. And in fact, given my current lack of any row level security, I'm seeing stuff for states that are not the one I'm in. And in fact, I could go, get more detailed information, add, customer's first name or their city and so on. But if we go and apply row level security, I'm going to see something very different once it's applied. So I'm going to go turn on row level security under my data source settings. And then I'm going to specify that I have a lookup table called lookups. And the field that contains the user's logged in email address is email. I'm now going to go add a condition to any of the tables that I want row level security enforced on. In this case, I want my customers table to only show users customer information if they're a manager and they're in the same state as the customer. So this condition is going to look like my state from this table, so customer state, is equal to, and I can see over here that the format for these kind of user attributes is curly brace, user.attribute. And that should be in single quotes as shown here. So I'll say user dot state. And maybe I want this other condition, user.role is equal to manager. And you'll notice one of these conditions is checking against the specific values in this customers table, whereas the other one is actually just looking at an attribute for a user, but not checking against this particular table. So I'm going to take this and hit save. If I wanted, I could add RLS conditions for any of these other tables. And I would see if RLS is applied to that table on the left here. I could also, if I wanted in Zing, to hide tables, and I would do that at the data source setup. If I go to data sources, click on edit for the data source I'm interested in. Great, so we've set up row level security, and now we're going to go back to go query something in Zing. So you'll recall last time we looked at customers, we were seeing customer information from across every state. But now, if we go query, let's say state and the number of customers in each, I should only see it for California. And indeed, that's exactly what I see here. And because I am able to see every row in this table, I could even go here and say, I want to use the SQL editor, and I want to, select star from customers. And Zing is still going to apply that row level security, even though I'm writing custom SQL. It's going to apply that row level security before the SQL query runs. So all of these results I see are actually going to be filtered on the conditions that we outlined over here. So that's how centralized row level security works. One other thing to be aware of, if I didn't necessarily need to enforce all of these, but I just wanted to be able to use user attributes in my queries, is if I take this out and hit save, I can still use user attributes in my queries. So if I go here, go to sample store, customers, now I've taken out that row level security condition that's applied in the universal way. So I have state, and maybe I'll again go for count of customers or something in each state. I can apply that state filter or any other attribute of a user that I want by saying zing.user. Whatever the user attribute field name is. So in this case, it's state. And then I'll hit save. And now it's just applied this as a filter. But if I save this question and shared it with someone and they had editor rights or were asking a question from scratch, they could simply go in here, remove that filter. So the benefit of centralized row level security is there's no way for them to get around it or modify it. It's applied before any query that they run. More detail is available in our documentation. If you go to zingdata.com and then you click on documentation, you'll see step-by-step instructions for how to set up centralized row level security. If you have any questions, our support team is always happy to help. You can just click the intercom chat icon on our website. Thanks.